Now, one of the locations is extremely hard to get to. It's not easy. So firstly, a few safety precautions. Make sure you have water with you, and make sure you have sensible footwear, because it's a bit of a hike. The rest of it's drivable. This part is not. So we'll just go into that. But anyway, while I'm walking there, because it's going to take me a good half an hour to get there, I thought I would go through a little bit of the English Civil War history and the build up to Naseby. So, firstly, in the last video, I actually forgot to tell you where I was. So, although you know I'm in Naseby, some people might not know where Naseby is. So, Naseby is in the Northamptonshire countryside in the East Midlands of England. And why is Naseby important? The Battle of Naseby is so important because it is the decisive battle that will decide the fate of the First English Civil Wars. Or, as it should be called, the British Civil Wars, because obviously this war does involve Ireland, Scotland, Wales and England. And from 1642 to 1651, you have a series of wars. You have 3 wars. And again, the British Civil Wars. But during the First Civil War, Charles I is involved. And he's on the field quite a lot. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Such a beautiful walk. But anyway, yeah, so this is going to be the last time that Charles I commands an army on the battlefield. Because after this, and those of you that know your history will know that the Parliament army will defeat the Royalist army here at Naseby in 1645. And Charles will flee to Wales at first. He will then end up going to the Scots in a place that has escaped my brain, Newark, I believe Newark, and the Scots will then turn on him and bargain with Parliament and will negotiate £100,000 fee for handing him over to the Parliament. And as people will know with their English Civil War history, what will happen is eventually Charles I will attempt to escape a few times. And again, if you want to know about that, then please go and listen or watch one of my video podcasts on my YouTube channel, or I'm on all of the podcast sites. You can find it if you type in American Civil War and UK history, you'll find it. I had a great chat with a guy called Mark Turnbull, and Mark and me discussed the trial and execution of Charles I, which happens in 1649. So quite some time after the defeat here at Naseby that happens. And again, I'm walking up to a very important spot, which when I get there I'll try and go live. But I had difficulty finding it. Well, it wasn't hard to find. It was just because I've not been here before, it's difficult and it's not easy. Now there is a roadway that takes you right up, but it is actually closed to vehicles. I think they've decided to do that. One, it's not very vehicle friendly unless you've got a 4x4, and also, you know, people use this for riding their horses. Actually a bridle way. Anyway, I took a few wrong turns. Eventually I found my way here. There is a little sign, but it's sort of hidden in the hedge. I'll turn you round so you can actually see. So yeah, we're going on. I'm going up to a very important spot. This is one of the most important parts of the Battle of Naseby. But again, going back to the importance of this battle will be the last time that Charles I, well, technically he's not actually commanding the army because his nephew Prince Rupert is. But this will be the last time that Charles I is on the battlefield in an English Civil War battle. And that is quite important. And again, this is the only part of the battlefield that you have to really trek to. But that's not a bad thing. It's good for you, you know. Gets you out of the car. Gets you out into the countryside. And as you can see, it's a glorious day here. We're just at the start of a little mini heat wave here in the UK, so it's all good. Very popular with dog walkers, obviously. But anyway, when I get to my next location, I will go live if I can. Hopefully I explained a little bit about the English Civil Wars and how important it is. Actual fact, before I go off, I'll explain a little bit more. This is also the first time that the new model army is in battle. Although they've had a few engagements, but nothing of this magnitude. Although this battle is not huge compared to some of the ones you'll see in American Civil War, but it is one of the turning points of the first Civil Wars. So, and yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, the battle actually took place on the 14th of June, 1645, and it was a Saturday. And after all day battling away, the Royalists actually lose in the end. Another thing, the Royalists don't actually know that where the Parliamentarians are, because they have bad intelligence. So this hedge here forms part of the Sulby Hedge, which runs all the way in that direction. And just behind there, as you can see, the flagpole there. Oh, sorry. You just sit. Oh, sorry. I do apologise. Let me turn you around. Oh dear. I'm having a bad day, aren't I? Right, let's start again. So this hedge is part of the original hedge. And behind there is the platform. Now, the platform is looking out, but it's looking out over that away, because that is where the battlefield is. And this is the hedge where Oakey's dragoons will hide behind. So let's walk along it, and let's walk in the footsteps of 370 odd years ago, what Oakey's dragoons walked and breathed. And again, like I keep emphasising many times, unless you come and stand on a battlefield, you will never understand it. I want to apologise for feeding a little bit of the wrong information in the previous video, because again, this is my first time here and I'm not super knowledgeable about this. So this hedge here, so this track here, as you can see here, obviously the track wasn't here, got to imagine 370 years ago, but this is where Oakey will deploy his dragoons during the Battle of Naseby in 1645. They will set up along here, they will hide in this hedge, and they will shoot the Royalist cavalry that is running up along this field here. And again, we'll try and get a view of the battlefield up on the platform in a minute, because now I've got my bearings. And you can get a good view over there actually. So that, what you're looking at there, is the battlefield. That is where the battle took place, in that field there, on all those fields. Remember though, it was 370 odd years ago, so farming has taken place. A lot of things change, the landscape changes. But one thing that doesn't change is the landscape as far as the ridges are concerned. And in a minute, hopefully we'll get a view of the Royalists, sorry, where the Parliamentarians set themselves up. And again, at the moment, we're walking on the actual ground where Oakey deployed his dragoons. And again, they get off their... So dragoons during the English Civil War, they ride to battle, they get off of their horse, they dismount, they take their musket, and they shoot. And they're basically like an extra block of musketeers. So they would have been into the hedge and shooting away as the Royalist cavalry. And I just got goosebumps and chills as I said that, because cavalry, and there would have been a lot of it running, must have made the earth shake. I experienced something at an English Civil War battle recently at Frome, where, and there was only 12 of them, but I was just getting ready to do a live video on the battlefield, or I was doing something, and they came past me, and what I did is I grabbed the camera and I walked up in between them, because I wanted to get like a view of what cavalry would have looked like, you know, like would have been like to somebody standing on the ground. And yeah, that video is on Facebook somewhere. But again, this is the location where the dragoons were placed and would cause hell towards the royalists. I'm not going to walk down any further than that, because what I want to do is walk back up to the platform and make up for making that awful mistake earlier and telling you the wrong thing. And then also we can get a really good view of the battlefield then as well from up on the platform. So again, like I've said in previous videos today, Naseby 1645, Battlefield Trust in England, lots of things, National Lottery funding has helped. And what they did is they put these platforms up in all the important spots of the battlefield, so that the people like myself can come out and enjoy it. But again, as I always say, it doesn't matter whether you like history or not. Come out and explore it. Anyway, what I'm going to do is end this video just here, and I'm going to walk back up to the platform, where we'll get a really good view of the two ridges the two armies are going to be standing on when they face off at each other in the Battle of Naseby in 1645. See you all in a minute. So I have taken you out along the where the dragoons were but this is a better view of the biggest scale battlefield in general. So there we go. So there we have the 1645 flag in Naseby, 1645 Trust again. Put this platform up here, and as you can see, you've got two signs. If I pan you around, you also have a nature trail sign. There is a little pond in that little area there. It's got loads of different you know, wildlife and bits and bobs on it. That's quite cool. So if you're following that sort of trail, that's for you. But we're talking about the Battle of Naseby, 1645, the 14th of June 1645, the last battle of the First English Civil War. Not the last battle, sorry, the defining battle of the last English Civil War. Sorry, the First English Civil Wars. And I'm not getting this right today, my guys, so I apologise. Right, anyway, let's get back to the battle. So I have my bearings now. As you know, if you'd have seen my video about the hedge earlier, and again, right, so we are behind, so the hedge row starts around about over there. This hedge row is ancient, it's been here hundreds of years, and it runs all the way around like that and all the way down there. Now the dragoons deploy along that hedgerow over there, and they shoot into the royalist would be their right flank. Now you probably can't pick this up on the camera, but I will try. So you can just about there where my finger is see a steeple. That is the village of Naseby, and that ridge there is the ridge there, as you can see, the ridge. That is where the Parliamentarians are going to form up on that ridge there. They are going to come down. So in this centre area here is where some of the fiercest fighting is going to take place between the pike, the muskets, and one of the regiments doing the hardest fighting on that day is Sir Philip Skippon's regiment. And for those of you that know me personally will know that I was in Skippon's in the Sealed Knot. I'm a very proud skip, and I always will be. And on occasion, when we do a reenactment together, I do like to go and play again. But anyway, that's another day. So over in this direction, on this ridge here, that is where the royalists form up, and they will come down. So what you're looking at here, in this area here, is the battlefield of Naseby, the Naseby battlefield. You can't go walking around and marauding around it because it is farmland. There are some areas what you cannot go on because obviously again there's no public right of way, so I can't just go marauding across the battlefield, unfortunately. You have to get permission, which is something that we could do in some point in the future, which I am planning on doing. So in between filming here, the first video and the video when I went out to a hedge, somebody did come out to the spot, and he's one of the people that take care of the upkeep of the plinth here and the hedge as well, and we had a very good conversation. He's involved with the Battlefield Trust organisation, so he's taken my details and I've taken his, and hopefully in the future we can collaborate and do something together. So let's have a look at the signs again. So again, as I was explaining up on the table there, this is where we are here in this position here, as you can see. And the Royalists are coming from that direction, and Parliament from that ridge over the hedge. And again, this is the trail we walked along just a minute ago, and it's very hard to see because of the sunlight, the shadow. There you can see Oakey's dragoons. So it'll probably be better on this one over here actually. There we go. So that is the pathway we walked, and again, like I said, we're here and I walked along this bit here. So what they will do is they will deploy along this hedgerow here, but eventually towards the end of the battle, the dragoons will actually rejoin the main battlefield, and they will actually help drive the Royalists off the battlefield. Nice little picture of the dragoons dismounting their horses, and again, going into a little bit of the history, they're not like dragoons were during the Napoleonic era. These ones actually rode to battle, got off their horse, and fought with their muskets. So I'm just reading here, the hedge running south across the valley follows the line of the ancient boundary hedge of east side of Sulby parish, which was probably enclosed as early as 1428. So this hedgerow was put in around about 1428. And was definitely here during the Battle of Naseby. Again, I want to point this little, so this is it, this picture you can actually find on Google. If you Google the Battle of Naseby, it does come up. It's a very interesting little picture. I actually used it in my podcast with Mike Ingram. Now what's really cool is, and again, I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but there's these little guys getting off their little horses, and they are hiding behind the hedge. And what they're going to do is they're going to fire into the Royalists' flank. And as Mike Ingram explained on my Naseby podcast video, the way an English Civil War battle takes place is that you always have two wings of cavalry during this period. Cavalry is like the tank of the time, you know. And unlike when in the American Civil War, when cavalry is used more for reconnaissance, although yes, you do have the major big battles like Brandy Station and stuff like that, you have cavalry battles all the time, but they're more for reconnaissance. During this period, cavalry is actually used for the battlefield. And one of the most important cavalry commanders on the battlefield will be Oliver Cromwell. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about Oliver later. But Oliver Cromwell is a bit late to this battle. He only arrived a day before the battle. And that was because they reformed the army. And they reformed it the New Model Army. And it was the first time in England. So this is the start, you see. This has implications on the future of the British Army. This is the first standalone army in England, or in Britain at the time. Before that, you would call up your brands or your militia, and it would be county, you know, it would be separated into counties, all that. This was the first ever standalone centralised army in England, or in Britain at the time. And eventually what you get from that, you actually end up getting one of the oldest regiments in the British Army, which I can't remember what they're called. I do apologise. I do know, but my brain's gone dead. It's terrible. I'm having a really bad day of remembering stuff today. But they are one of the oldest regiments in British Army. Eventually, and the thing is as well, you see the red coat. So you see the new model army has a reddish coat. And yes, it is a long time away until that period. I mean, you're talking 40 years, 50 years until the British Empire. But it is the start of that first ever professional standalone army. And again, as you can see in this picture, they are wearing the red jackets that I'm talking about. So the new model army had the red jackets with the blue cuffs. Anyway, hopefully I didn't waffle on too much, and hopefully you're not bored of my videos. All I'm trying to do is promote history on everyone's doorstep, you know, and the fact that, you know, all you've got to do is literally come out your front door and it's there, you know. And people don't realise these places are here. Again, this particular location on the Naseby battlefield was the hardest to get to. But to be honest with you, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. When I saw the track leading up to it, I thought, oh God, I'll be all day. But actual fact, it's actually quite deceiving. It's actually quite easy to get to. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to end the video here at Sulby Hedge, sorry. And I'm going to go to the next location. And hopefully I'll see you all again very, very soon. Cheers.